You all think you're so clever, don't you? Spending your weeks and months on Reddit and Discord and the YouTube comments, trying whatever you can to guess who's gonna be in Smash next. And I don't know why I decided to open up this video so snarky, because that is exactly what I do too. Well, except I don't post on Reddit. There is a great irony within me. I have spent many years of my life pouring hours into research and conversations about how we can figure out who's going to get put into Smash next. It is a pointless endeavor, but it's an exercise that I greatly enjoy and plan to continue to do for years to come. However, that irony comes from the fact that my favorite reveals for Smash are the ones that I didn't call and I didn't see anyone else call. In this Fighter's Pass, my favorite reveals by far have been Joker and Terry. Even if I'd spent 8 hours a day meticulously applying the scientific method, all in an attempt to successfully predict Ultimate's DLC characters, I don't think I ever would have reached those conclusions. And while I absolutely love and respect you, I don't think you called them either. That being said, if there are any guys or girls out there who did legit predict Joker and Terry, props to you. That is insanely impressive to me. We as a community seem so dead set on a select handful of characters that simply must be the next DLC characters for Smash. But let's you and me together take a step back, look at our options, and see if we can't call some wild cards, serious or silly, that may yet again throw us all for a loop. Now, there are some pretty simple or easy targets to go for. For example, Doomguy is a very popular choice and a character I'd be incredibly excited for. But with all the focus on Doomguy, I think a character like Dovahkiin is unfairly getting ignored. It's definitely a name I hear thrown around here or there, and while I probably would anticipate Doomguy over Dovahkiin, it is far from a landslide victory. Skyrim is one of the biggest success stories in gaming history, one of the most beloved games of the 7th generation, and significantly bigger than any Doom game. Beyond that, it was the second video game ever advertised to be on the Switch. Skyrim was a big deal for this console, and the Switch version is one of the best versions of the game out there. And just stop and think for a sec how incredibly satisfying it would be to spike someone with a yell. There are some really cool creative possibilities with a character that can yell you to death. In a similar vein, we have two more characters that, again, both are talked about, but one much more than the other. One of the most wanted characters out there, Crash, and the other guy that most people want, but after Crash, in Spyro. Full disclosure, the primary reason I'm bringing this up is because I absolutely adore Spyro, and I'm just not that big into Crash, I'm sorry. Crash was absolutely a bigger icon of the PlayStation 1, but I would argue that Spyro has had the better career overall. Crash peaked on the PS1, right? And while Spyro's strongest showing was also on the PS1, he also had a moderately successful reboot series on the PS2, and was the poster boy for one of the biggest gaming trends of last generation, Skylanders. And I don't think it's a hot take for me to say that Spyro clearly had the better remake on PS4. All in all, I do think Spyro has enough merits to get him into Smash, whether or not Crash gets in before him. But yeah, even with my bias if I had to guess, we'll get Crash first. But hey, I think we all would have agreed as well that we probably would have seen Heihachi or Scorpion before Terry, so who knows, right? Now, I don't really enjoy talking about leaks, and I'm not going to here, but depending on the leaker camp you tend to find yourself in, you will either consider Ryu Hayabusa an absolute inevitability, or very likely to never happen. I don't really have a camp myself, other than as cool as Ryu Hayabusa would be, Smash already has a couple of ninjas. What Smash doesn't have is a tank. And if you need a third-party NES icon, may I recommend Jason and his tank Sophia from Blaster Master. Smash is already so full of such silly and dumb character designs, why not throw a tank in the mix? And it's a tank that has had two really critically acclaimed games on Switch that I haven't played yet, but I'm really excited to. They're on the wish list. I need a sale. Or a lot of gold points. I'll get to it eventually. There are some really creative ideas out there for how Jason and Sophia could work. I mean, driving a tank around the battlefield, being able to hop in and out depending on the situation, that's probably the most unique potential character we're going to talk about in the whole video. Well, actually, looking at the list I have here, there is one that might be able to top that. We'll get to him in a second. You know what company I like to talk about a lot? Capcom. Excluding their Echo Fighter, they have not had a newcomer in Ultimate yet. and in my opinion, they have the strongest lineup of potential IP second to Nintendo themselves. There's two big boys at Capcom that I see talked about a lot. You got Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil, in my opinion, the clear frontrunner of this franchise, but I recently saw a friend bring up the possibility of Jill Valentine in Smash. And while I don't think Jill nearly matches the legacy of Leon, the one reason I'd be okay with this is if Jill got to bring over some of her moves from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Pretty iconic character for that game, and I would love to have some of that moveset available to me in Smash. She was one of the protagonists of the first game and has kinda maintained importance to the franchise. Like, she is important, but like, just be careful about what version of Jill you choose, please. The other character who I would love just as much as Leon is Phoenix Wright. I'll admit what I'm about to propose here is a little wacky, but I played the Phoenix Wright trilogy for the first time this year. I played all 3 games, I greatly enjoyed them, they were my first real visual novel experience. And despite having a good time with them, once I was done with the 3rd game, I had pretty much had my fill of visual novels for a while. I was ready to tackle a different game in my backlog. So like the dummy I am, I fired up Danganronpa, completely unaware that it was basically another Phoenix Wright game. However, important to note, Danganronpa is better than Phoenix Wright in basically every way. Like, is that a controversial opinion? Is that a hot take? It probably is, but there are so few areas that I feel like Phoenix Wright beats out Danganronpa. I would love to have Phoenix in Smash. He's one of the coolest fighting game characters ever in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but if I'm personally picking the visual novel rep, Monokuma would probably be it. As you've probably picked up on, I'm a fan of more weird, wild, unexpected characters, and Monokuma is absolutely that. This guy would be absolutely bonkers with the crazy ways he could brutalize people in Smash. Look, I'll admit, of all the examples I've said so far, this is easily the longest shot of long shots I've proposed. But it'd make me pretty happy. But you know what would make me even happier? Line up all those Capcom characters I just talked about and get them out of here. If I can have one more Capcom rep in Smash Ultimate, Wolverine from Marvel vs. Capcom. It hardly makes any sense, it is hugely biased, but Wolverine is on a prominent Nintendo game, and if I absolutely must have a non-video game character in Smash, Wolverine would be my first pick. This guy he's getting his own video later. I got a lot to say here. But let's rapid fire through a few more general picks. Since we have 2 JRPG protagonists, throwing Lloyd in there too might be oversaturating that genre a bit. We already got Terry, so throwing in Heihachi too might be a little much for now. So who still out there can fill that Namco void that Ultimate still has? My guy who came on the Switch the same day as Smash Ultimate itself, the Prince from Katamari Damacy. It's an incredibly silly pick, but come on, would anyone really be that upset to get the Prince in Smash? Or to get Katamari music in Smash? I would love to see how they would implement the mechanic of rolling your Katamari around. The Prince ain't as big as Lloyd or Heihachi, but he has been on the Switch more, and that's not worth nothing. My other boy who's also already on the Switch and getting another game on there soon enough, Travis Touchdown. An icon of the Wii's core gaming offerings. Even though his games eventually got ported to other platforms, I think the strongest association Travis has is with Nintendo. He's got a fighting style that would translate incredibly naturally, and how, after getting 70 plus, soon to be 80 plus characters in this game, do we not have someone that fights with a lightsaber ripoff? Like, the Monado is kinda close, but with all the swordies we got, none of them got a blade with permanent active frames. For the record, I'm not actually saying I want Travis to have permanent active frames on his beam katana. It is just true that if you're going to 100% accurately portray that weapon, it would always have active frames. Travis would be a representative for a core part of Nintendo's fandom that doesn't get a lot of love in Smash. And hey, speaking of which, hey Saki, what's up? I didn't want to only talk about modern characters here, so Saki, what happened to your assist trophy, my guy? That's gone, but your Mii costume has been left untouched, and we know how addicted the Smash community is to saying everyone that's just a Mii costume will eventually be promoted to full-on character. I have a soft spot for the characters in Smash that animate with a huge level of style, and I think Saki would absolutely be a top tier in that category. But Travis and Saki aren't really from companies that like need representation or anything. What else is there? You know, one of the biggest Japanese companies that doesn't have a representative yet is Koei Tecmo. And we already talked about Ryu, their most expected pick. You know who actually could be a solid rep for Koei Tecmo is Byleth from Fire Emblem. Okay, you know what? There's a large number of people out there that thinks first party is still possible, and obviously Byleth is a huge contender for the next first party character, but then you get everyone complaining about another Fire Emblem swordsman. If Nintendo were smart when picking a Fire Emblem character, Three Houses has a rep that absolutely no one would be complaining about. I'm just saying, alright? It might be the only way to make a majority of your audience okay with another Fire Emblem character. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't really think of any other major icons of Switch games that people aren't really talking about. I guess I'll just make sure I haven't missed anything. I'll go into my software. Let's sort by playtime so I get the biggest boys up top. And yeah, these franchises already have reps in Smash. And there's Phoenix Wright, we already talked about him, would love to see him show up. And yeah, doesn't look like there's anything too noteworthy Oh. How could we all have been this blind? Absolutely brilliant. How could none of you see this coming?